The night shift was quiet. The long halls of the research base were cold and empty. Only the sound of buzzing lights and distant machines filled the air. A young human worker named Daniel walked slowly, carrying a small toolkit. His job was simple. Check the systems, fix small faults, and return before morning. He thought this night would be the same as all others. He was wrong. Daniel turned down a corridor he had never entered before. It was darker here. The doors were larger, made of heavy steel. Warning signs covered the walls. Authorized personnel only. Do not enter. He hesitated, but his scanner beeped. A system fault was coming from this section. He sighed, wiped his hands, and stepped forward. As he walked, he felt something strange. The air here was heavy, almost alive. His skin prickled. Then he heard, soft, broken words. At first he thought it was the sound of machines, but no, it was a voice, a weak, trembling voice. Help me, please. Daniel froze. His heart thumped hard. He turned his head, looking around. The voice came from behind one of the thick metal doors. He moved closer, pressing his ear to the cold surface. Open the door. Human. Free me. The voice was clearer now. A girl's voice. But not human. The sound was different. Gentle, almost musical, with a strange echo. Daniel stepped back, eyes wide. He shook his head. This must be a trick. But then the door rattled. Something inside pushed weakly against it. Daniel whispered, Who are you? Silence. Then the voice again, weak but urgent. They keep me here. I cannot escape. Please, you must open the door. Daniel's hands trembled. He knew this section was forbidden. He should turn around and leave. But the sound of fear in her voice pulled at him. Slowly, he wiped the dust from a small glass window in the door. His breath caught. Inside the chamber was a girl. She looked young, her skin pale with a faint glow, her eyes shining silver even in the dim light. Chains held her arms and legs. Strange wires ran into her body. Her clothes were torn and her face was tired, but her gaze was sharp. She met his eyes. You can hear me, she whispered. Then you are not like them. You must help me. Daniel stepped back quickly. No, I can't. I'll be killed if they catch me here. The girl shook her head. If you leave me, I will die. They take my blood, my DNA. Every day they take more. I am the last of my kind. Her words cut into him. He looked around nervously. What was this place? What was she talking about? Suddenly, footsteps echoed at the far end of the corridor. Heavy, boots, guards. Daniel's stomach dropped. He ducked behind a console as two men walked past carrying rifles. They stopped near the door. Still alive, one guard muttered. Stronger than she looks. Tomorrow they'll take another sample. Maybe this time it won't kill her. The other laughed darkly. Doesn't matter. Once the buyers get what they want, she's finished. The men moved on, their voices fading. Daniel's hands clenched. His chest burned with anger. He looked back at the glowing eyes behind the window. She was still watching him, silent now, but her gaze begged. Why you? Daniel whispered. Why keep you locked? The girl's lips moved slowly. Because inside me is power. Power to heal, to change. My DNA is not like yours. It can cure, it can create. They will sell it and kill me. Daniel's mind spun. He had grown up believing aliens were enemies, dangerous creatures who could not be trusted. That's what the government always said. But here was one, chained, suffering, pleading for her life. He wanted to run, to forget this ever happened. Yet he could not move. Something in her voice, in her silver eyes, held him. She leaned forward, pressing her chained hands against the glass. Human, you have a choice. Walk away and I die. Open the door, and maybe we both live. Daniel swallowed hard. His palms were sweaty. His scanner beeped again, reminding him he was supposed to fix the system fault. But this was no simple repair. This was life and death. For long moments he stood there, torn between fear and something deeper, a spark of courage. Finally, he whispered, "I'll come back. Tonight. When it's quiet. I'll find a way." The girl's eyes softened, a faint light of hope flickering in them. "Thank you," she breathed. But before Daniel could say more, alarms blared suddenly. Through the corridor, red lights flashed. He spun around, panic rushing through him. Someone had triggered a security sweep. The girl cried out from inside the chamber, her voice sharp with fear. "Go! They must not find you here." Daniel backed away, heart racing. The guards were coming again, faster this time. He turned and ran, his footsteps echoing through the dark halls. Behind him, the metallic door rattled once more, the alien girl's voice chasing him into the night. "Open the door, human. Free me." The sound followed him long after he escaped the corridor. And in his mind, he knew this was only the beginning. The night was colder than usual, but Daniel could not feel it. His mind burned with the memory of the silver-eyed girl behind the steel door. Her voice still echoed inside his head. "Open the door, human, free me." He had promised her. He had whispered through the glass that he would return. Now, as he walked alone through the dark corridors of the base, his heart beat louder than the alarms he had escaped earlier. Every shadow looked like a guard. Every flicker of light felt like a warning. But he had made a choice. He could not walk away. Daniel stopped near the forbidden wing, the same one he had explored before. The scanners on the wall glowed faintly. He had stolen a small access card earlier, slipped from an engineer's pocket when no one was looking. His fingers shook as he held it up. The scanner beeped, the lock clicked, and the heavy door slid open. Inside, the chamber was quiet. Too quiet. The girl was still chained, her body weak but her eyes alive. When she saw him, her lips parted in a faint smile. "You came back." Her voice was soft, almost a sigh. Daniel stepped closer, whispering quickly, "I don't have much time. Tell me why they keep you here. What's so important about you?" The girl lifted her head, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "My DNA," she whispered. "It is not like human DNA. It holds secrets." Daniel frowned. "Secrets? What kind of secrets?" Her chains rattled as she moved, pressing her hands against the glass window. "Your people are sick. Wars, diseases, slow death of your planet. My blood can heal. My cells can change your kind. Stronger, faster, free of illness. That is why they keep me here. They do not see me as a person. They see me as a resource." Daniel's chest tightened. He remembered the guard's words. Buyers. Samples. Finished. It was true. She wasn't a prisoner. She was a product. The girl's voice broke. "I am the last of my kind. The others, they took them, drained them until they died. Now only I remain. And soon, I too will be gone." Daniel stepped back, shocked. "The last of your people?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. If I die here, my people vanish forever. Our history, our voices, our stories, all erased." For a moment, Daniel felt small, standing in front of her. He had grown up hearing stories about aliens, dangerous invaders, monsters that wanted Earth. But this girl was no monster. She was afraid, alone, and chained like an animal. "You don't understand," she whispered again. "Every day they take more blood. Every day I grow weaker. Soon I will not survive another extraction. If you wish to help me, it must be now." Daniel's throat was dry. "But if what you say is true, your DNA could save millions. What if they are right to use it?" Her eyes darkened, sharp with pain. "Save millions? No, they will not. Give it to your people, they will sell it. To the highest bidder. To those who want power, not healing. Imagine armies that never tire, soldiers who never fall ill. That is what they want. Not life. Not peace. Only control." Daniel clenched, his fists. It all made sense now. The government, the base, the secrecy. It was not about saving lives. It was about profit and war. Suddenly, the sound of boots echoed down the corridor. Guards again. Daniel's heart stopped. He ducked low, pressing himself against the wall. Through the glass, the girl's eyes widened. "Go," she hissed. "If they find you here, they will kill you." Daniel shook his head. "Not yet. I need to know. If I free you, where will you go?" Her voice trembled, but it carried hope. "There is a ship, hidden far beyond the city. I can reach it. With your help, I can escape. I can survive." The boots were closer now, shouts in the distance. Daniel had seconds. "I'll come tonight," he whispered fiercely. "I'll bring what I need to unlock this chamber, but you must stay alive until then." The girl nodded, her silver eyes burning with determination. "I will. But hurry, human, hurry." The heavy boots stomped closer. Daniel's pulse raced. He ducked into a side door, slipping away just as the guards turned the corner. He held his breath, pressed against the wall, listening as they passed by. Inside the chamber, the girl closed her eyes. She could still feel the wires pulling her blood, still feel her strength draining. But for the first time in a long time, she also felt something else. Hope. Daniel hurried back through the corridors, every step faster than the last. His mind spun with the truth he had just heard. An alien girl whose DNA could heal the world. A government that wanted to use her as a weapon. And himself, a simple worker now caught in the middle. The night air hit him hard as he stepped outside the base. He gasped, his lungs filling with cold freedom. But his heart was heavy. He knew. He had crossed a line. There was no going back now. Above him, the stars shone bright and endless. Somewhere out there, her people once lived. Now, their only survivor waited for him in a locked chamber, chained and dying. And her words would not leave him. "If I die here, my people vanish forever." Daniel looked up at the stars one last time before turning toward the city lights. His whisper carried into the night. "I'll save you, no matter the cost." The clock struck midnight. The base was quieter now, the kind of silence that felt heavy and dangerous. Daniel moved like a shadow through the hallways, his stolen access card tight in his hand. Every step echoed too loudly in his ears, but he forced himself forward. He had promised her. Tonight he would open the chamber. Tonight he would free the alien girl. The corridors twisted like a maze. Cameras blinked red above him. He knew one mistake could mean capture, or worse. Still, the thought of her silver eyes, chained and begging, pushed him on. Finally, he reached the forbidden wing. The steel door loomed before him, cold and massive. He pressed the card to the scanner. A soft click. The lock opened. Daniel exhaled and stepped inside. But he was not alone. The hiss of another door sliding open made him freeze. From the shadows, a figure stepped out, tall, armored, face hidden under a dark mask. The intruder carried a weapon, sleek, black, deadly. Both men stared at each other. "Who are you?" Daniel whispered, his voice tight. The figure tilted his head. "Not your concern. Step aside." His voice was rough, filtered through the mask. Daniel's chest tightened. "You're here for her, aren't you? For the girl?" The masked man chuckled, low and cruel. "Smart for a worker. Yes, she's worth more than gold, more than nations, and she'll fetch a fine price when I deliver her." Daniel's stomach turned. "You can't. She's not a thing to sell, she's alive." The man raised his weapon. "Move, or you'll die here and no one will even find your bones." Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at the chamber door behind the man, the faint glow of silver eyes watching them from inside. She was awake. She had heard everything. Her hands pressed against the glass, chains rattling. Daniel clenched his fists. He was terrified, but he would not back down. "No," he said. "I won't let you take her." The man didn't hesitate. He lunged. Daniel dodged, barely avoiding the strike. The weapon crashed against the wall, sparks flying. Daniel grabbed a loose metal pipe from the floor, swinging wildly. The clang echoed through the chamber like thunder. The fight was brutal. fast and silent except for the clash of steel and gasps for breath. Daniel was no soldier, but desperation gave him strength. He fought not for himself but for her. The masked man grabbed Daniel by the throat, slamming him against the wall. Daniel gasped, vision blurring. The man's voice was like ice. "You're brave, but bravery means nothing when you're dead." Then, an alarm screamed. Red lights exploded across the corridor. Sirens wailed. Doors slammed shut behind them. Someone had triggered security. The man cursed, throwing Daniel aside. "You've cost us both time," he growled. He aimed his weapon at Daniel's chest. But the chamber door hissed open. Both men turned. The alien girl stumbled forward, chains still dragging from her wrists. Her eyes blazed silver in the flashing red light. She looked weak, trembling, but her presence filled the hallway with strange energy. "Stop," she said, her voice low but commanding. The masked man froze, stunned for a moment. Daniel scrambled to his feet, rushing to her side. "You can't walk," Daniel whispered urgently. "You're too weak." Her gaze never left the mercenary. "I will not go back in that cage," the man sneered. "Good. Makes it easier to deliver you alive." He raised his weapon again, but the girl lifted her chained hand. The air shimmered. A faint glow rippled outward, like heat on stone. The mercenary staggered back, shocked. His weapon sparked, circuits frying. Daniel stared, speechless. What did you just do?" The girl swayed, nearly falling. Daniel caught her, feeling how light and fragile she was. She whispered, "Not enough. I cannot hold it. We must run." The mercenary roared in anger, tossing aside the broken weapon. He reached for a blade strapped to his side. "You won't escape me." But the base was alive now. Guards thundered through the hallways, their shouts mixed with the sirens. The fight was no longer between three. It was about survival. Daniel pulled the girl close, chains clattering. "This way!" he shouted. They ran down a side corridor, the mercenaries' footsteps chasing them. Behind them, boots pounded. Orders barked. Lasers fired, scorching the walls. The girl stumbled, and Daniel nearly dragged her. "Hold on," he begged. "Just a little further." She coughed, her voice thin but sharp. "They will not stop. They will hunt us to the ends of your world." Daniel gritted his teeth. "Then we'll give them a chase they'll never forget." They burst into another hallway, alarms blaring, guards shouting. The mercenary was close behind, moving like a predator, faster than the soldiers themselves. "Left!" the girl cried suddenly, pulling Daniel toward a maintenance hatch. He slammed it open, pushing her inside just as lasers struck the wall where they had stood. They tumbled into a dark tunnel, crawling fast, the sound of boots echoing above them. Daniel's lungs burned. His arms shook. But when he looked back, at her, the alien girl with glowing silver eyes, he felt something stronger than fear. Hope. For the first time, they were not separated by steel and chains. They were running together. Behind them, the mercenary's voice boomed through the tunnels. "You can't hide forever. I will find you." Daniel tightened his grip on her hand. "Not if we find freedom first." And together, they vanished, deeper into the maze of shadows with alarms still screaming through the night. Smoke filled the tunnels. The alarms still screamed above, red lights flashing like angry eyes through every crack in the walls. Daniel coughed hard, pulling the alien girl by her chained wrist as they crawled through the narrow passage. "Keep moving," he whispered. His throat burned, his chest tight. The girl's breath was weak, but her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "They are coming," she said, her voice soft yet certain. "They will never stop until they have me again." Daniel clenched his jaw. "Then we just have to outrun them." Behind them, the sound of boots echoed through the tunnels. Guards shouted orders, their voices sharp and cruel. Metal doors slammed open and shut. Drones whirred above, their red sensors scanning. The mercenary's voice carried loudest of all. "Run, little thief," he roared. Run as far as you can. I will take her in the end. Daniel's blood ran cold, but he didn't stop. He pushed open another hatch, dragging her into a wider corridor. This one wasn't empty. It was alive with machines, pipes, and glowing tanks of liquid. The air hissed with steam. The girl stumbled, her legs weak from the wires and blood loss. Daniel caught her quickly, holding her close. She was lighter than he expected, fragile, almost too weak to stand. You can't run much farther, Daniel muttered. She shook her head, silver eyes burning. Do not leave me. If I fall, you must still try. You must... Stop. Daniel's voice cracked with anger. I'm not leaving you, ever. The words surprised even him, but deep inside, he knew they were true. The sound of clanking metal cut their moment short. A drone dropped from the ceiling, spinning, its red sensor locking on them. It chirped, then aimed its blaster. Daniel cursed and threw a heavy pipe from the floor. It struck the drone hard, sending sparks flying. The machine crashed into the wall, smoke pouring from its frame. But the damage was done. The alarms grew louder. Their location had been marked. Run! Daniel pulled her forward again. They burst out of the maintenance wing into the night air. The cold wind hit their faces, carrying the bitter smell of metal and fuel. Floodlights cut across the dark yard, soldiers shouting as they spread out in formation. The girl winced under the sudden light. Her silver eyes glimmered bright, catching every soldier's attention. There she is, someone shouted. Blasters, fired. Blue bolts lit up the night, striking the ground around them. Daniel grabbed her hand tighter. This way. They sprinted across the yard, weaving between storage crates and heavy vehicles. Sparks flew as bolts hit the metal around them. Daniel's heart pounded, every step a fight against fear, but she was slowing down. Her knees buckled. Daniel caught her again, half carrying her now. You're not giving up on me, he said, his voice fierce. She pressed a weak hand against his chest. I can help. Just a little. Her silver eyes glowed brighter, and suddenly the air shimmered. The ground between them and the soldiers rippled with light, forming a wall of distorted energy. Blaster bolts struck it, bending away. Daniel's mouth dropped. You're shielding us? Her voice shook. Only for a moment. He didn't waste it. He pulled her through the opening in the fence out into the shadowed streets of the city beyond. The alarm bells of the base still howled behind them, but now the chase spilled into the world outside. The city was alive with neon lights, hovering vehicles, and endless alleys. But even here there was no safety. Search every street, the mercenary's voice thundered from behind. His men spread out, drones flying high above. Daniel pulled her into a dark alley, both of them gasping for air. His shirt was soaked. With sweat, his hands raw from gripping her chains. They'll find us here, he said. His voice was low but urgent. We need to go deeper into the city. Disappear. The girl leaned against him, trembling. Her glow had dimmed, her strength fading fast. I cannot run much longer. They have taken too much from me already. Daniel's chest ached. He could feel her slipping away, and it scared him more than the soldiers. Stay with me, he whispered fiercely. You said there's a ship, right? A way out? She nodded slowly. Far from here, but we cannot reach it tonight. Daniel cursed under his breath. Then he noticed her wrist. Blood from the old needle marks smeared across the chain. His hands tightened on the metal. They had treated her worse than an animal. He looked into her glowing eyes. I'll find us somewhere safe, just hold on. They stumbled deeper into the alley, moving through broken streets and empty warehouses, but every corner carried danger. Drones buzzed overhead, beams of red light sweeping the ground. At one point, a drone's beam caught them. Daniel threw himself over her, pulling her into the shadows beneath a pile of rusted crates. The machine hovered above them, scanning. Daniel held his breath, his heart slamming against his ribs. The girl's silver eyes dimmed as she whispered, They will never stop. Not until I am back in chains. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then I'll make sure they never get that chance. The drone finally moved on. Daniel helped her to her feet again. But before they could move, a sharp metallic voice echoed through the alley. There you are. Daniel spun. The mercenary stepped out of the shadows, mask gleaming under the neon light. His blade glinted sharp and deadly. Soldiers closed in behind him. The girl clutched Daniel's arm. "We cannot fight them all," she whispered. Daniel pulled her closer, his own fear hidden behind burning determination. "Maybe not. But we'll die free before I let them take you again." The mercenary raised his blade, smiling under the mask. "Then tonight, boy, you both die in the dirt." The chase was over. The fight was about to begin. The warehouse was silent except for the dripping of water from a broken pipe. Daniel's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths as he set the alien girl down gently against a cracked wall. Her glowing eyes had dimmed, her body weak, but she was alive. "We made it," Daniel whispered, though he wasn't sure if it was true. His clothes were torn, his hands raw from pulling her through alleys and shadows. His heart still pounded from the chase. The girl's voice was soft. "Safe. For now." Daniel nodded. He pulled a dirty blanket from a crate and wrapped it around her thin shoulders. Her chains clinked against the concrete, a cruel reminder that she was still not free. "I'll find food," Daniel said quietly. "Something to give you strength." She touched his arm weakly, her silver eyes locking on his. "Hurry. They are still searching." Daniel squeezed her hand, then slipped out through a side door into the night. The streets were quiet, but danger was everywhere. Drones hummed above, soldiers patrolled the main roads. He kept to the shadows, slipping into abandoned shops until he found a dusty market stall. He filled his bag with dried food and bottles of water. When he returned to the warehouse, the air felt wrong. Too quiet. "Hello?" Daniel whispered. No answer. His stomach sank. He dropped the bag and rushed to the back wall, only to find the blanket lying empty. The chains were gone. "No!" Daniel's voice cracked. He searched frantically, pushing crates, calling her name in a harsh whisper. "Where are you?" A sound came from the shadows, a slow clap. Daniel spun. The mercenary stepped out from the darkness, his mask glinting in the pale light. Behind him, soldiers stood in silence. And between them, chained once more, was the alien girl. Her silver eyes were wide, her face pale with fear. She shook her head faintly at Daniel. The mercenary's voice was sharp with triumph. "You really thought you could protect her? A simple worker? A nobody?" "She was mine from the start." Daniel's fists clenched. "Let her go!" The mercenary laughed low and cruel. "Why would I? Do you know what she's worth? Entire governments would kill for one drop of her blood, and they will pay me more than you can dream." Daniel took a step forward, rage boiling in his chest. "She's not for sale. She's not property. She's alive." The mercenary tilted his head. "Then you're a fool. You could walk away tonight alive. Or—" He gestured toward a bag at his feet, heavy with money. "Take this. Forget her. Start a new life. You'll never be poor again." For a moment, the room was frozen. Soldiers waited. The girl's chains rattled softly as she tried to step closer, but the guards held her back. Her voice was desperate. "Daniel, don't listen to him." Daniel's chest heaved. He looked at the money, then at her glowing eyes. His answer came sharp and certain. "No, I won't trade her life for gold." The mercenary's voice turned cold. "Then you've chosen death." He drew his blade, its edge shining silver in the dim light. Soldiers raised their rifles. Daniel moved before he could think. He grabbed the metal pipe from the floor and charged. The mercenary met him with a laugh, their weapons clashing in sparks. The alien girl cried out, struggling against her chains. "No, stop!" The warehouse erupted with violence. Guards shouted, rifles firing. Daniel ducked behind crates as bullets ripped through wood. The mercenary stalked him like a predator, his masked face calm, almost amused. "You're outnumbered," he said. "Outmatched. Give up." Daniel's grip tightened on the pipe. "Not while she's still breathing." He lunged again, striking hard. The mercenary blocked easily, slamming him against the wall. Daniel gasped, stars filling his vision. The blade pressed against his throat. "This is where heroes die," the mercenary sneered. But before he could strike, the girl screamed. Her silver eyes flared with light, brighter than ever before. The chains around her wrists glowed, snapping, apart in bursts of sparks. Energy rippled through the room, knocking soldiers off their feet. The mercenary stumbled back, blade shaking. What is this?" The girl's voice was no longer weak. It was sharp, filled with fury. "I am not your prize." She raised her hand, and the air shimmered with raw power. Soldiers' rifles melted in their hands. The mercenary's mask cracked from the force. Daniel dropped to his knees, staring in awe. You're free." Her silver glow dimmed again, the power fading almost as quickly as it had come. She swayed, nearly collapsing. Daniel rushed to catch her, holding her close. The mercenary tore off his cracked mask, his eyes burning with rage. "This isn't over. She will be mine, again." Daniel glared at him, gripping the girl protectively. "Not while I live," the mercenary snarled, signaling his men. But before they could move, the sound of police sirens wailed outside. City authorities drawn by the noise. The mercenary cursed. "Another time, boy." He and his soldiers vanished into the shadows, leaving only the echo of their threat. Daniel held the girl tighter. Her breathing was shallow, her chains broken, but her body weak. "You saved me," she whispered faintly. Daniel shook his head. "No, you saved yourself. I just held on." She looked into his eyes, and for a moment, despite her weakness, there was a spark of something, trust, maybe even hope. But both knew the truth. The mercenary wasn't gone. He would return, stronger, and the chase was far from over. The city burned with light. Neon signs flickered above the streets, but their glow was drowned out by flashes of blue fire from patrol drones. Sirens screamed. People ran in panic, scattering like birds under a storm. Daniel pushed forward through the chaos, half carrying the alien girl. Her chains were broken, but her body still weak. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the night, a beacon that drew attention. "Too much attention. They're here," she whispered, her voice raw. Daniel looked up. The sky was filled with black machines, war drones shaped like steel hawks. Soldiers poured out of armored carriers, shouting orders. Their rifles gleamed, ready to fire. And at the center of it all was the mercenary, his cracked mask replaced, his blade shining under the streetlights. He raised his arm and shouted, "Seize her! Kill the boy!" The soldiers moved as one. Daniel pulled her into a narrow street, but blaster bolts lit the walls around them. Sparks and fire exploded. He ducked low, shielding her with his own body. "This is insane," Daniel muttered. His heart slammed in his chest, fear clawing at him. But he forced himself to stand. "We can't keep running. They'll tear this whole city apart just to get you." Her weak voice cut through the noise. "I told you. They will never stop." Daniel's jaw clenched. He looked at the people screaming in the streets, the civilians caught in the crossfire, families hiding behind broken walls, children crying as drones swooped overhead. Innocent lives, hunted because of her. He turned to the girl, his voice firm. "Then maybe it's time we stop running." Her eyes widened. "You mean fight?" Daniel nodded, though fear twisted in his gut. "Not for me. For them. If your power can save lives, now is the time." Her hands trembled as she lifted them. "I cannot control it. If I try, it may consume me, or worse, it may consume you." Daniel held her shoulders, his gaze steady. "Then I'll take that risk. But you're not dying in chains, not tonight." The soldiers stormed the alley. Daniel swung a loose pipe, striking the first one across the helmet. Another raised his rifle, but before he could fire, a blast of silver light exploded from the girl's hands. The air rippled like water. Soldiers were thrown backward, weapons melting in their grip. Daniel shielded his eyes, stunned. The girl stood taller now, her glow brighter, her chains falling away like dust. "You," Daniel whispered, awe filling his voice. "You're stronger than you think," the mercenary roared from the street. "Do not let her escape. Use the war machines." The drones shrieked as they dove, firing bolts of plasma. Buildings cracked under the blasts. Daniel dragged the girl behind a broken vehicle as flames rained around them. Civilians screamed. A mother clutched her child, trapped in the open. Daniel's heart twisted. He started forward, but before he could move, the girl raised her glowing hands. Silver light shot out, wrapping around the mother and child like a shield. The drone's fire struck the barrier, bending away harmlessly. Daniel's breath caught. You saved them." Her voice was weak but steady. "That is what my DNA was meant for. To heal. To protect. Not to destroy." The mercenary growled, stepping forward with his blade raised. "Enough games." Daniel rushed to meet him. Their weapons clashed in a shower of sparks. The mercenary was stronger, faster, trained for war. Every strike nearly broke Daniel's arms, but he refused to fall. "You can't win," the mercenary snarled. Daniel gritted his teeth. "Maybe not, but I can buy her time." The girl closed her eyes, her glow spreading wider. The air hummed. Civilians who had been wounded lifted their heads as silver light touched them. Burns vanished, cuts closed, cries of pain turned into gasps of relief. But each act drained her. She swayed, her body trembling. Daniel saw her weakening, even as she gave everything to save strangers. "No!" Daniel shouted, shoving the mercenary back. He rushed to her side, catching her as she nearly collapsed. "Stop! You'll kill yourself!" Her silver eyes flickered. "If I don't, they will all die." Daniel's heart twisted. She was saving people who feared her, who would have turned her in if they knew the truth. But she kept giving. She couldn't stop herself. The mercenary pointed his blade at them. "She will drain herself dry, and when she falls, I will claim her body. That is her fate." Daniel glared, rage burning in his chest. "Not while I live." He stood tall, holding the girl close. The soldiers circled, the mercenary advancing. The girl whispered in his ear, her voice faint but filled with resolve. "Daniel, if we are captured, they will take you too. They will tear you apart until nothing remains." He shook his head. "Then we fight until the end." Her glow flickered once more, then dimmed. She fell against him, unconscious, her strength gone. Daniel's arms tightened around her. He stared at the mercenary and the soldiers, his pulse roaring in his ears. He knew this battle wasn't his to win, not alone. But he would not let them take her without paying a price. The storm had begun, and the city was now its battlefield. And in the heart of the chaos, Daniel swore a silent vow. If she falls, I fall beside her. The world was red with alarms. Sirens screamed, lights flashed, and smoke curled through the corridors of the research base. Daniel's body ached, his arms bruised, his lungs burning. But still, he carried her, the alien girl, through the steel halls where it had all begun. Her silver eyes fluttered open, weak but still glowing. "We are back here," she whispered. "The place of my chains." Daniel gritted his teeth. "Then this is where it ends. One way or another." Behind them, boots thundered. "The mercenaries," voice echoed like a curse. "You cannot run, boy, the girl belongs to me." Daniel's heart pounded, but he pressed forward deeper into the base. He had no plan, no map, only determination. He kicked open a final door, stepping into a vast chamber filled with humming machines and glowing tanks. The air vibrated with raw power. At the center stood the commander of the base, a tall figure in dark armor. His eyes glowed cold blue as he smiled at them. "At last," the commander said. "You brought her home, the last of her kind. Do you know what her blood will give us? A new empire." The mercenary entered behind, his blade dripping with sparks. Soldiers fanned out, weapons raised. Daniel tightened his grip on the girl. "You'll have to kill me first," he growled. The commander laughed, gladly. The soldiers advanced. Daniel set the girl down gently, then grabbed a heavy steel, far from the floor. His body shook, but his will was iron. He swung with all his strength, knocking the first soldier down, but more came, overwhelming him. A rifle struck his side, a blade cut his arm, he staggered, blood running down his sleeve. Still, he stood in front of her, refusing to move aside. "Daniel?" the girl whispered. Her chains rattled faintly. Her hands shook as she reached for him. "You cannot fight them all. Let me—" Her voice cracked, but her silver eyes flared. The commander raised his hand. "Drain her completely, take every drop." Soldiers moved in with glowing needles. Daniel roared, swinging wildly, but one struck him hard across the chest. He fell to his knees, breath gone. "Daniel!" the girl cried out, silver light bursting from her eyes. For a moment, the chamber shook. Machines trembled, glass shattered. Soldiers stumbled back. The commander's smile faded as the girl rose slowly to her feet. Her glow was blinding now, her chains melting into dust. The silver light wrapped around her like wings of energy. She looked no longer weak, no longer trapped. She looked like what she truly was, the last of a people who were never meant to be slaves. "You will not touch him," she said, her voice echoing like thunder. The commander snarled. "You are a weapon, nothing more." The girl lifted her hands. Light surged, slamming into the soldiers, sending them flying against the walls. Their weapons melted. The mercenary raised his blade, but it shattered in his grip, sparks scattering. Daniel shielded his eyes, awe filling his chest. She was more than light, more than power. She was freedom itself. The commander stepped forward, fury burning in his eyes. "You cannot destroy me. Your power will drain you as it did your people." The girl's glow flickered. She swayed, nearly collapsing. Daniel forced himself up, stumbling to her side. He wrapped his arms around her, steadying her. "Then take my strength," he whispered. "Take whatever you need, just don't stop." Her silver eyes widened. "If I take it, you may die." Daniel smiled weakly. "Better me than you. Better me than the whole world." Her hands trembled, then pressed against his chest. A surge of energy flowed, silver light spilling through both of them. Daniel gasped, his body burning like fire. But he held on, teeth clenched, refusing to let go. Together, their light grew brighter, filling the entire chamber. The commander screamed as the machines exploded. The walls cracked, the ceiling caved. Soldiers fled in terror, blinded by the storm. The mercenary tried to run, but the light consumed him, erasing his shadow from the earth. At the heart of it, all stood Daniel and the alien girl, glowing like stars. When the light finally faded, the base was gone, reduced to ash and twisted steel. Smoke rose into the night sky. Daniel collapsed, his body weak, his vision fading. The girl knelt beside him, tears glowing in her silver eyes. "No," she whispered. "You gave too much." Daniel's voice was faint. "At least, you're free." Her tears fell onto his face, shimmering like liquid light. "No, we are free. Together." She pressed her forehead to his, her glow soft now, gentle. Energy passed between them, not as violent as before, but healing, warm. His breath steadied. His eyes opened slowly. "You," Daniel whispered. "You saved me." Her smile was small, but real. We saved each other. The night was quiet now. The stars shone above, endless and bright. The city far behind them lay in silence, no longer burning. The girl looked up at the stars, her voice soft, almost a prayer. "My people are gone, but their spirit lives in me. And now in you too." Daniel followed her gaze, his hand still holding hers. "Then we'll make sure they're never forgotten." The girl nodded, her silver eyes filled with hope. "The door is open now. Not to chains, not to cages, but to freedom." They stood together among the ruins, their future uncertain, but their bond unbroken. And for the first time, the last of her kind was not alone.